Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the RT7 Digital webinar, Amazon Brand Lifecycle. I'd like to welcome our speaker, Jack Cooper, Commercial Director of RT7 Digital.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for joining. So just to begin with, as a brief intro, for those that don't know RT7, we're an Amazon specialist agency, and we've been helping brands on Amazon for coming up to 10 years now. So feel we're in a good position to advise and speak more on a strategic level. And I'm going to be talking about the Amazon brand lifecycle today. And hopefully, for those that are selling on Amazon already, this will be able to give you a good gauge on what you should be looking at, factors you should be considering at different stages. So we've put together these four phases: establishment, acceleration, defend and grow, and yield. Now, identifying where you are in these four stages in terms of your account and existing setup is very important. And I think from the content that I run through today, it should give you a good idea. But in terms of the timelines, it's very difficult to fix an exact timeline to each stage. We would advise maybe around a year per stage. But the main levers you can pull that will really support that would be your time that you invest into your account and also budget that you allocate is a huge factor. Looking at each stage, I'm actually going to unpack these specific points going into establishment. So establishment would be very much at the start of your journey. Now, we actually see quite often brands that are trying to run before they can walk with Amazon. And I think this is a large reason we put together this model because you don't want to, if you're trying to sell your house, you don't want to show people around when you haven't cleaned the house. And this is a very important thing when it comes to Amazon applying that same methodology. So looking at establishment to begin with, the first thing is competitor analysis, understanding who are your key competitors on Amazon, price points that they're selling at. There's software that you can utilize to support with this kind of research. We would conduct this always for any clients at the start of their Amazon journey, even actually something you want to be assessing throughout the stages. But what you want to look at is tools such as Jungle Scout, Helium 10, Smart Scout. Smart Scout's an excellent tool that we pay for, which gives you insight into revenue data across different categories. And also looking at your catalog. Product research is really key. Price points, how flexible can you be with your price points? So looking at key competitors on Amazon, and your competitors on Amazon will likely differ from other channels. As I'm sure Amazon can be very diluted with lots of Chinese manufactured Chinese brands that actually aren't that well established. They're Amazon only businesses, but they still pose a key threat to you on the channel, and it's important to understand those. And then looking at your niche as well, defining what success looks like, what KPIs should you have in place, and the parameters to set those goals. And everything stems from that, the kind of budgets that you need to be allocating when it comes to the later phases. So it all starts with research and data. Now, I know from a lot of the attendees today, members of Beta likely have sizable catalogs. Think about where you're focusing your attention, perhaps even looking at product development. There may be products that are in your existing range that would be better put into bundles for Amazon, for example. And that's something to definitely look to. A single pack maybe not performing as well as if you were to create a unique SKU such as a two pack or a four pack of that same product, which would be better suited to Amazon and could give you better control over the channel. So rather than just taking your existing product range that you're maybe selling on your own website and thinking we're going to just drive that plug and play on Amazon, you need to look at it more specifically because Amazon is a unique channel in the way that shoppers interact. And it does form a key part of, 8 out of 10 e-commerce sales are using Amazon as a touch point in that journey now. So the time investment required is really key. And Amazon's algorithm is still the A9 algorithm officially, but we've noticed that at RT7 we're working in over 80 accounts currently. The requirement for SEO and organic optimization is become far more demanding now over time. The days of just taking your existing copy, say from your catalog or your website, and just pasting that onto Amazon, those days have long gone, unfortunately. So it's really important that you are applying Amazon specific content, which is supported by keyword research and that data. So that's for the SEO. And you can use, I know Helium 10 has that functionality. If you want to have a look at that tool, you can use Helium 10 to actually track your organic ranking. And that's where you are ranking on different keywords, which page you're featuring on, and track the progress of that over time. And also looking at your conversion rates as well, very important on a specific level. Are your titles optimized, your bullet points, the amount of brands that we see that are spending, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of pounds on advertising, and their listings have maybe just one, two, three bullet points. Their images aren't fully optimized. I asked them, when did you last, assess your content, and do a review of that? And they maybe haven't done so for 3, 4 years. This is a hugely missed opportunity, especially when you're investing so much in advertising. We know that margins are tight on Amazon. It's difficult to be profitable, and you really need to sweat the small stuff. Um, and it's as simple as it sounds. The amount of time that it's overlooked is really quite shocking. Reviews also form a really, really key part in the establishment phase. There's no point you driving high levels of traffic through ads to your listing if you've got low review count. So we talk about there's something called a review tipping points. And this is category dependent, but what we tend to find is there's different levels in different categories where within the Amazon algorithm, it has a huge shift on your conversion rate. And what I mean by that is the first one tends to be around 15 reviews. So with a new listing, it's really important you get to that 15 review mark very quickly if you can. And using something at point 6 here, you can see Vine, using a Vine program, for example, is excellent to be able to support you. I think you get, I want to say it's 30 tokens to begin with. And what the Vine, for those that don't know, the Vine program is where Amazon, you ship product to Vine reviewers free of charge. So they get a product and they in turn leave a review for you. Gets you some very honest feedback, which is excellent. Honest reviews that are credible. So not only does it support the conversion of the listing, but it also supports the ranking as well. So that would be, I would say, normally the first review cliff point. Now, depending on the competitiveness of the category, the next normally tends to sit around the 100 mark, 100 reviews, 200 mark. And we notice when you get to this point, that's when you really get a lot more momentum on that listing. So reviews need to not be forgotten about. Really, really key. And another thing that we tend to see, and I think is often overlooked, is, and I say this a lot, is as I speak to many brands on a daily basis, but customers, they want a brand experience on Amazon. They want to feel like they're purchasing from the brand. There can be, Amazon was quite well known for lower ticket items, white label goods, simple items like a toilet brush, or that you wouldn't necessarily care to be branded, and that's really changed over time. And I noticed that a lot of accounts on Amazon are focusing their content to actually be very product focused rather than talking about the brand. And I think you want to build a relationship with your shopper on Amazon and look at the amount of accounts that aren't utilizing the brand story section, for example, which comes above the A+ content. Make sure you're utilizing that. Make sure you have an aspect of your A+ content that is brand focused and is consistent across your listings. So when you land on a listing, you get that consistent experience, and it reinforces the brand. Brand store, again, another key area that is often overlooked. You want to have, the store is not something you just create and leave. Excuse me. It forms a key part of advertising. It's a landing page for the paid traffic, looking through key dates. You've got Q4, key event periods, whatever would be more relevant to your brand and your product. You can build out deals pages within the store. So it's really important to be looking at this on a detailed level, and you can actually get analytics from the store as well. And that gives you further insight. And it's difficult to get customer data from Amazon. Another thing to consider is your setup, your stock strategy. So I'm sure many on the call today will know this, but there's basically two key ways that you can sell on Amazon, through Vendor Central and through Seller Central. But within Seller Central, you've got three fulfillment options. One being Seller Fulfilled Prime, the second being Merchant Fulfilled, and the third being Amazon FBA. Now you can actually have two fulfillment options on one SKU. So you could have stock in FBA, and if that runs out, so for whatever reason that's mismanaged, Amazon, maybe on Amazon's part or yours, or there may be a delayed shipping time to replenish stock, then your own warehouse will pick up the order. So running out of stock on Amazon is the worst thing you can do for your ranking and performance. And the importance of the Prime badge is another really key thing to consider. So a lot of accounts that I see are running merchant fulfilled, but not running seller fulfilled Prime. Due to time, I won't be able to unpack Seller Fulfilled Prime in a lot of detail today, but have a look. If you want to have a chat, we can guide you through that as well. So just reach out to me directly. But Seller Fulfilled Prime, you get the Prime badge, but you still fulfill via your own warehouse. And this can be a really key for those on Seller Central. This can be a really good way to set up your listings and fulfillment. Over 60% of Amazon shoppers are on Prime. So if you don't have a Prime listing, when you search for a product on Amazon, I do it certainly, I'll tick Prime only results. So you're missing a lot of potential traffic because you just won't be visible if you don't have that Prime badge. Of course, you get that naturally with FBA, but FBA fees can be a lot higher. So if you've got using a 3PL, speak to your warehouse, do they have SFP capabilities? And that's SFP is Seller Fulfilled Prime. Last but not least, pricing strategy. You're most likely fixed to RRPs from your existing relationships. But if you have flexibility in pricing, look at that. Looking at a reseller audit as well is really key. But these are the main considerations you want to be looking to have your house in order. Are you selling the right product range for Amazon? Is it profitable? You need to understand that before you start to invest into your advertising. And that really brings me on to the next phase here. So the next phase is acceleration. And this is where we start to look at the advertising side. Advertising, of course, would come in, I think, earlier than year one, for example, which, as I mentioned, this could be a 4-year road, as an example. Not always the case, maybe faster, maybe longer, depending on where you are and what category you're operating in. But at this stage, you understand your competitors. Now, we use a software which is Cobalt. It's actually more enterprise software developed by Jungle Scout. We find it's excellent. But we're able to get data such as share of shelf, share of voice data. Now, this data is key because you can see, okay, who are our key competitors? What is their level of spend? Because you can relate it to your dominance on different keywords to get an estimation of what they're spending on advertising. And again, it's about understanding your category, understanding the opportunity, and then setting some realistic goals and targets to work towards. And when it comes to advertising investment as well. Another thing is continuous SEO. This is rarely spoken about, and a lot of agencies that I'm aware of may just offer advertising without any view of the listings. But it's the Amazon flywheel. You need to be looking, okay, what keywords are performing within our advertising, what are performing, and make sure they're aligned with your listings. We look at this on continuous SEO on a quarterly basis, at least quarterly, probably monitor it in the early stages more frequently to extract that data, see which keywords are performing, and make listing updates. I'm not talking about overhaul of content, but tweaks and changes to make sure you've got that keyword density and it's aligned. The objective of advertising, we want there to be a high organic split, organic to paid split when it comes to your revenue. You don't want to be reliant on advertising sales alone. you want to use the advertising to also drive your organic ranking. Um, a, a, a term that many may have heard of would be TACoS. So that's your total advertising cost of sale. There's also total ROAS, basically the same thing, but defined differently. But on average, we tend to see about 10% on an account, 10% of total revenue being allocated towards ads. Sometimes 15, sometimes it's 5, but depending on where you are, how mature your account is. But I think a good target to factor in and work towards would be that 10% TACoS. So for every £10 you spend on advertising, you generate £100 in organic and paid sales. So that's the difference. This is not ACoS. ACoS is a measure of efficiency. I speak to brands very regularly about trying to move away from just having ACoS targets and start to work to a TACoS target. Because if you can stick to, say, 10%, then your revenue, your spend can grow in accordance with revenue. And that's really the metric that matters. Your ACoS may fluctuate. I think it's less important. Um, you want to look at driving up your BSR, driving up that bestseller rank. Really key. Look at variations, grouping your products into variations. Yet again, another area that we see is often missed is products are not combined into variations. When you combine your products into variations, you get the benefit of your reviews combining, which is really key. So they accumulate, higher review count means higher ranking. Also, if one product runs out of stock in a variation, the parent ASIN still continues to rank. So it means when that product comes back into stock, it hasn't lost all of that ranking and momentum in the algorithm, which benefits you as well, keeps more consistent ranking and performance. And then reviews. How often are you looking at your reviews, seeing what customer feedback you're getting? How are you proactively trying to get reviews as well? There's software you can utilize that gives follow-ups, so follow-up emails. I believe there's one called seller feedback you could have a look at, where you want to ask your customers for reviews, as well as actually you can use it to prevent negative reviews. We've give an example. There's products that we've sold in the past that have had common things that were misunderstood. Perhaps it's hand wash only. You can't put it in the dishwasher. If you put it, so we had these neon mugs that we sold. We had lovely paint on them, but they had to be hand washed, otherwise the dishwasher would damage them. As you know, people don't read listings, customers don't read it. You need to treat them as if they're a toddler, give them the information very plain and simple. So the follow-up emails that we sent were just very, very straightforward, reiterating that point around hand wash only, and it prevented negative reviews. So you want to use these tools just to get not just to get positive reviews, but also to look at preventing negative ones. And within the advertising strategy, at this acceleration phase, you can start to actually target specific competitors, specific products. So Amazon advertising has developed a lot in recent years. You actually have capability to now do retargeting. You can target specific ASINs. So with the use of software where you can actually track your market share and dominance on different keywords, you can identify, okay, these are our key competitors that we're going to target on a product by product level. We're going to target them with these ads. You need to be going to that granular level of detail. And I often, yeah, I very, very often don't see that that's being looked at. It does require a lot of care and attention. And then another thing just to cover is the hybrid model. So we're big advocates of hybrid, and that's running Vendor Central in conjunction with Seller Central. Vendor Central is invite-only platform, but I'm yet to come across any business that isn't best suited to a hybrid in some capacity. You get benefits of both platforms. Vendor can be more profitable, but sometimes you lose control of, well, you do lose control of price point, which can be a sticking point. However, having Seller Central can give you that control because there's nothing contractually to say you have to supply a vendor PO. So this is probably a whole nother webinar on hybrid, but I think something to consider and some food for thought if you're not already set up in that way. Moving on, the next stage would then be the defend and grow. This is where you're at a point that you are in a strong position within your category And that's when we would start to look at Amazon DSP. For those who don't know what Amazon DSP is, it is an opportunity for you to advertise off of Amazon, driving traffic to Amazon. Minimum spend, I believe, is between about £5,000 to £10,000 per month. So you need to be on that aspect alone. You need to be in a reasonably mature position. But this is where we really look to start to scale and grow um, from a DSP, finding new to brand purchases. You can track that, acquiring new customers, following shoppers online around different stages in their journey, and starting to integrate Amazon into wider e-commerce as well. And then catalog management is really key. New product development, perhaps at this stage, you'll have a lot of data to know what's working, what isn't working. Perhaps you need to look at, we've got some clients that have actually developed exclusive ranges just for Amazon, or maybe there's lower price points for you to target. So I think a lot of opportunities can come out of this stage. New markets. Again, if you've proved concept, Amazon is great for expansion. The reason is if you've got the same ASINs across multiple marketplaces, then you get quite a real benefit from being able to carry those reviews across. So you're not starting from scratch when you launch in a new region. We've helped many brands expand from the UK to EU. So say you're going from UK to Germany, for example. You've got an existing catalog well established on Amazon.co.uk. When you launch in Germany, you get that review count carrying across. Obviously, you want to have German reviews, and that will build over time, but it supports you with that initial ranking and launch. So look at new markets, keep assessing the opportunity, keep looking to expand. You might also have additional budget now that you can invest into special events, Prime Day, Black Friday, opt into those events and utilize those and treat them as a special event. I know we've done some content on special events and optimizing for that. So have a look. There's the webinar for that is recorded if you wanted to get more information there. And a last thing to cover here is also looking at resellers. So as you get more established within Amazon, more than likely you're going to have new competitors trying to copy your brand or steal market share. Perhaps you've got resellers on your listings, depending on the level of control you have over your logistics. You can run a reseller audit, identify those, and this is something to stay on top of because you don't want to be putting in as well. It may form part of your strategy. You're happy for resellers to sell as well, but it can cause a lot of issues with advertising. If you're flipping in and out of the buy box, if you don't have the buy box on the listing, your sponsor product ads will not deliver. So it's really key to understand that because you want that high buy box win rate. Otherwise, if your ads are pausing, unpausing, it has a real issue with the budget pacing, the daytime parting, and if you're managing it internally or an agency, it can cause real issues to effectively do that. So being aware of resellers is really key. Last but not least is the yield phase. At this point, DSP still really, really important. Pricing again, if you have flexibility there, then that would be an excellent thing to deploy, ensuring that you're able to if you can manage because you at this stage you've got economies of scale, likely larger order quantities, better margin on the products, building average order value. And you're going to be hot property in terms of getting targeted by other brands, and the brand defense is essential here. There's so many accounts that we look at where they're not effectively running brand defense, and that doesn't mean just defending your brand search keywords, but looking at defending your brand specifically on product targeting ads. So product targeting ads, you can actually get maybe a complementary product to feature on your listing in the place of where a competitor would target. And you want to be in the listings every day, tweaking, changing. It is a full-time job. It's the amount of times we see an Amazon account with significant revenue, high, high SKU count, and then the internal team from the brand just has a national account manager, for example, and Amazon forms one part of their role and they've got a lot else to do. You need to dedicate resources in-house or work with an agency to effectively manage and scale and grow. Amazon has become incredibly competitive, huge amount of time being spent on it. So I think it's very important to understand this and make plans and putting plans in place to build internal resource, build training internally so you have that expertise that should things change, should you need to address any challenges, if Amazon is a core part of your strategy, you've got the resources to be able to help you. That rounds things off there. I think we did okay for time. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Jack. I think you'll all agree that was a very informative presentation full of great information and advice. If you'd like to put any of your questions forward, please do so now. We've already had a couple come through, so I'll go straight to those. Does this model apply to all regions?
Yeah, I would say certainly from an Amazon perspective, if regions being meant by like Germany, France, Italy, Spain, I'd say most certainly. You'll probably find though that you're at different stages depending on where you're established. So it's also important to look at that and apply a specific strategy and roadmap and plan to each region individually, as opposed to just trying to paint them all with the same brush.
Thank you. What level of advertising spend should I be putting into Amazon?
Um, so I think it's again, it's how long's a piece of string with that, but I think depending on your catalog size, to be able to get so I'd say for the UK, very different rule that in fact for the US, for example, but most accounts, even new accounts launching with low numbers of SKUs, for the US, we tend to see at least a minimum of $5,000 per month to begin with from advertising to be able to get sufficient data if it's a new launch, for example. That can be drawn down quite a bit in the UK. You can start small and grow, but I'd say at least £2,000 to £3,000 for the UK to begin with as a low entry starting point. Um, yeah, I would say that'd be.
Thank you. If I'm unsure which stage of my brand is in the life cycle, what is the quickest way for me to find out?
Um, I would say, but well, firstly, the establishment stage should be quite easy to look at in terms of do you have your house in order? And I think that's asking yourself that question, looking at where that point is really key. And then I'd say the majority of brands, it would then be about probably having a discussion with someone that understood the key steps to be able to then place you at one of the later stages. But I would say being able to establish whether or not you're in the first establishment stage is also important. Also, how long have you been on Amazon for? Is another key one. If you're not yet selling on the channel, obviously easy to answer. But I would say, yeah, certainly easier to place yourself in that way.
Thank you. As a 1P vendor to Amazon, would you recommend that we also have a seller account? What would be the advantages in doing this?
Definitely. As I mentioned, yet to come across any company I don't think would benefit from having both in conjunction. There's a lot of questions that need to be asked and answered and explored in terms of your existing setup, your warehouse, are you equipped for direct consumer orders? But real benefits are in summary, and I mean that I could talk about this all day, but um, from a vendor perspective, if you by having all your eggs in the 1P basket, you are massively at the mercy of Amazon. Maybe they're not going to accept your cost price increases. Well, probably don't. Or they make it very challenging to get those cost price increases through. To give you an example, we had a client that Amazon wouldn't accept cost price increases on certain lines. So they stopped supplying those lines, continued selling them through Seller Central, and then suddenly Amazon decided to come to the party. Gives you a lot more control over what can be quite an abusive relationship with Amazon, because Amazon is the big bully in the playground. So by having both accounts, you can use that to your advantage. And that's just one example of where it gives you more control. Um, Also looking at control of price point, you get that through Seller Central, you don't get that through vendor. If on 1P Amazon's massively discounting, then you could stop supplying that line, continue it through Seller Central until Amazon plays ball. A lot of it is about relationship control, I would say. Um, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot we could go into on that, but that would take another half an hour.
Thank you. And then for our final question, what is the most effective way to recruit new customers?
Um, well, I think so. DSP is excellent for that because you can get reporting on that of much wider reach as well. So it's more top of funnel in terms of the advertising. But you can also get that data out of Amazon. It's a lot about your keyword targeting. I think what I have found within Amazon advertising to be most effective, and it works really, really well, is specific product targeting ads. So look at your catalog, get your ASINs, identify other ASINs, competitor ASINs on Amazon that you compete directly with for each product and target all of those. So when you land on those competitors, you're advertising on their ASIN. Tends to be quite a low cost per click, which is a real benefit. And I've personally seen it yield great results. And you can also get that data as well. So that would be just one little one that I would say.
Thank you. Well, that brings us to the end of our questions. The presentation and the speaker contact details will be shared with you this week. Coming up next, Beta will deliver a webinar with Daily Hub, which takes place tomorrow at 2 o'clock. And all our details can be found on our website. Thank you all for joining us today, and I'll see you all soon. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Bye.